My name is David Lennox. I'm a lawyer in Florida licensed before the Florida Bar, and I also hold a license with the Law Society of England and Wales as a solicitor. Every year, my firm handles hundreds of closings for overseas buyers from the Republic of Ireland, United Kingdom, European countries, South America, and other locations. We specialize in representing overseas buyers who are interested in buying investment properties, commercial properties, and residential properties for their use or rental in Central Florida. We'd be pleased to represent your interests as well.
Hi, I'm Ann Flaman. Today I'm meeting attorney David Lennox with Greenspoon Modern. Let's see what he has to say. So most European countries tend to use attorneys, or sometimes what they call solicitors. And what is the difference between, for instance, a title company here in Florida and an attorney that will, prepare the actual closing of a property?
Many of our overseas buyers are not familiar with the concept of title insurance, which is very common in Florida. Title insurance is exactly what it sounds like. It is a form of insurance policy that protects your title to the property that you purchased in Florida. It protects against things that show up in title which may affect the marketability of your title, and other things such as a surveyor missing a fence or an encumbrance on your property that should have been detected at the time that your transaction closed when you acquired your property. So title insurance is a very important component of all Florida real estate transactions. A title company can close a transaction, and frequently people are somewhat surprised, especially when they come from Europe and see that an attorney is not involved in the closing of a vacation home or a residential property in Florida. We always use an attorney in connection with our closings because, number one, it helps to provide an important comfort culturally to our overseas buyers, particularly European and South American buyers, knowing that an attorney is involved in the transaction. It's at no additional cost for us to be involved. And from time to time, an attorney can solve a problem with title that a title company otherwise has to walk away from because, of course, they're not licensed as Florida Bar members. Whereas, for example, myself, I have in the past been able to resolve title issues and keep the deal moving forward so that in the case of a buyer, they're able to acquire their property, or if it's a seller, they can successfully close and sell their property. So there's an important distinction, but the important thing to keep in mind is that when you use an attorney in connection with the closing in Florida, you've got that added protection of knowing that we can help solve any issue that may arise.
So why do you recommend a foreign national to set up an LLC?
Well, an LLC, which in Florida stands for Limited Liability Company, is a very useful instrument for a foreign national to use to set up ownership of real estate. And the most important reason is liability protection. The Limited Liability Company acts as a blanket of protection, if you will, over the investor's personal assets and owning the property. If an investor buys property in their own name, then their equity could be subject to a legal claim in Florida because they are, in fact, the owner of the property. When that investor sets up a limited liability company to own the real estate, it's the limited liability company that has the exposure to any claims and not the investor's personal wealth.
So what costs are involved?
Well, the costs fall into the legal fees, obviously, and taking the time to set up the LLC. And there are also certain charges that the state of Florida will charge in registering the LLC with the Division of Corporations in our state government in Tallahassee. The creation of an LLC is entirely at the state level in Florida and not at the national level. So the state of Florida will charge a certain fee to accept the registration of the company. There will also be legal fees in setting it up. And generally they run in the range of about $700 to set up the LLC. Now, an important component of an LLC is an operating agreement. If husband and wife from the UK, for example, buy a piece of property, they may not need an operating agreement, which is the Bible, if you will, of how the company will be run. And it can include everything from, well, who is the manager and what does the manager do, to what do we do in case one of the members of the company die. And sometimes the operating agreement isn't required. But if you have, for example, non-family members of the company who are buying the property with you, an operating agreement is a very useful tool, and usually they run approximately $1,200 to $1,400 to create for the standard limited liability company. So overall, depending on whether you need a operating agreement for the corporation, you'll see expenses between $700 and approximately $1,800 or $2,000 US.
How long does the process take?
The process can be very fast, or it may take a while. For example, if a husband and wife from the UK come to me to form a limited liability company, it actually only takes a few days to set up the limited liability company and get it registered with our state government in Tallahassee. However, if you need an operating agreement and there are other friends, relatives, non-family members that are going to be involved as members who may want to review the operating agreement and also get their own legal advice, it could be several weeks depending on how long it takes for everybody to examine the operating agreement, agree on it, get back to me, and then I finalize the operating agreement for the group. So the answer is often as fast as the client wants to make it.
Do you have developers looking for investors?
At the moment, I don't. However, I frequently get inquiries from groups that may be interested in having investors come in, and sometimes you'll see that in an EB-5 visa setting where a development group may be looking for investors to come in under a visa scheme to invest in a project. Sometimes you will have people who are looking for equity partners because they may have property or they may have contract on desirable property, but they may not have the actual cash component to get development financing. So they'll need an equity partner who can assist them in developing property in Florida. Central Florida particularly, is a hotbed for overseas development. We see developers come from all parts of the world to try their hand, particularly at hotel or multifamily development. And so there's quite a team of people available in Central Florida to help you if either you're looking to invest in a project or you want to actually develop land that you may be acquiring in Central Florida.
So you could assist them with this?
Yes, definitely.
So how do you prefer communicating with overseas clients?
That depends on the client and the client's needs. Some clients prefer to speak by phone, and depending on their time zone, we can easily accomplish that. I frequently speak to clients in the UK, and if they prefer to speak in the morning, I tend to get up early to take that phone call or to place the phone call to them. So while many clients prefer email, those clients who actually like to speak to me on the phone, I'm available whenever they need me.
Concerning estate planning, what do you recommend?
The first thing a buyer should do is review their entire estate plan under the laws of their own country. So it's important to make sure that your estate plan is up to date and compliant under your own home country laws. And then you look at how those home country laws may deal with overseas assets. For example, a couple in the United Kingdom may be buying a residential property, a vacation home in Central Florida, and they could have several different ways of purchasing it once they get advice from lawyers in the United Kingdom. They could buy it as a property with a joint survivorship feature and bring in a son or a daughter that they may want to leave the property to. So by operation of law, when they pass on, the property will automatically transition outside of their estate to the son or child who will also be on the deed and who may survive them. Sometimes people are happy to do a will codicil to their UK will to deal with the disposition of their property in Florida. So there are different approaches to dealing with state issues that we take with clients after we know what the status is of their estate plan in the UK, and then we can advise them accordingly.
Are you finding that foreign nationals are more interested in investing in commercial opposed to residential properties?
Well, the answer to that, Anne, is really very interesting. Our interest right now seems to be broken down by nationality. Our UK clients are mixed between, of course, buying residential type properties as well as looking for commercial opportunities. Many of our Brazilian clients are interested in commercial properties, finding properties where they can generate an income and keep money in Central Florida and see their assets appreciate. Canadian buyers, however, frequently are residential as opposed to looking for commercial properties right now. So it's a mixed bag by nationality, I think, but we're seeing strong interest in both types of properties.
Do you offer an introductory meeting or conference call free of charge to any of the clients or foreign nationals that are thinking of buying?
I frequently take phone calls and introductory meetings with clients, overseas clients, free of charge. And often I'll respond and may provide them with some guidance on their issue before I'm actually retained. But our normal practice is to help the client with their particular questions and to have that initial phone call or meeting without a charge associated with it.
Thank you so much for your time, David. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Well, thank you, Anne. And if any of your clients or investors have any questions, they should be able to contact me directly.